Hello, it's Lexi at Cozy Tea Cafe over on Bookstagram, and today I'm going to be summarizing Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, which is book 2 in the Alex Stern series, otherwise known as the Ninth House Trilogy. Book 3 and the final book in this trilogy comes out in a little less than a month on September 15th, 2026, and if you're not familiar with these videos, they will be full of spoilers from the start to the end of the video, so if you have not read Hellbent or Ninth House and you don't want any spoilers, definitely don't continue watching. So we start off this book in the present, which is around November, and Alex goes to Black Elm and is pushed down the basement stairs and locked in the basement. She sees two Greys huddled next to their bodies and they're scared of something. A month before, in October, Alex goes to a man named Oddman's house and tells him he owes her $12,000 by the end of the week. She pulls a Grey into herself to give her strength, but the Grey somehow takes over and changes her face and recognizes Oddman before Alex casts it out again. Dawes gets a hold of Alex and tells her Lethe has selected a new praetor who acts as a liaison between Lethe and the university. Dawes and Alex have been searching for a gauntlet that acts as a gateway to hell, but they haven't been able to find it. Alex is now the new Virgil since Darlington is assumed dead, and she's called to a book and snake ritual where they temporarily resurrect a recently dead corpse for a general who wants intel, but the corpse just keeps writing Milky Way. Alex tells Dawes what happened, and she says Milky Way in Greek is Galaxeus, so she thinks Darlington is trying to reach her, and Dawes recommends using scroll and key to open a portal to hell. Last summer, Alex stayed at Yale instead of going home to LA, and Len's old supplier, Aton, got a hold of her and asked to meet right away, not knowing she wasn't in California, so Alex asked Yale for the fare to go home and see her mom. Alex and Dawes go to Scroll and Key and convince the new president to let them in alone. They try to open a portal to call Darlington out of hell with gems to prevent the Hellbeast from coming through, but a herd of hell horses comes through instead. Dawes summons them back into the portal, and before they close it, they hear Darlington say, "Wait," but the portal is already closing. People start running into the room, so Alex and Dawes stick to their story that it was just an inspection, but Sandow's temporary replacement, Michael Anselm, has questions. Back at Il Baston, Dawes says she put security cameras in the ballroom where the new moon ritual took place at Black Elm, and they were recently tripped. Anselm questions Alex and doesn't believe they were doing an inspection, and he assumes they were trying to open a portal to hell for Darlington. Then he warns them that they won't be welcome at Lethe if they try anything like that again. Dawes and Alex get to Black Elm and immediately know something is wrong. They make their way upstairs as it gets hotter and see Darlington in the middle of a chalk circle, naked with horns on his head. His eyes are closed and he's unresponsive, and when Dawes tries to reach into the circle, she's burned, so they go back to Il Baston until they can figure out what to do. Alex gets a call from Turner saying he found a body and wants her to take a look, and when she gets there, she sees Psych Professor Stevens dead at her desk. Her eyes are open and milky gray, so Turner suspects something happened to her. They notice a Bible in her hands, despite her family saying she wasn't religious, and her face and hands make her look 80 years old, even though she was only 55. Last summer, Alex traveled to LA to meet Aton, and he showed her a gas station security video from the night Len and the other men died. In it, she's glowing and bloody and walking with a broken bat. She tries to say she was too high to remember, but Aton's guard, Svi, grabs her, and she pulls a Grey into herself to fight back. Aton sees her strength, and Alex realizes it was just a trap, and he threatens her mom and says he has work for her and offers her 5% for each job. Back in the fall, Alex wakes up in front of Black Elm and realizes she sleepwalked there. Dawes gets a security alert that someone is at the door and tells Alex she'll come get her, but Alex lets herself in. She feels drawn to Darlington, who is awake now, and asks her to bring him books because he's bored. Alex accidentally enters the circle, but is unharmed, and Darlington says every time he tries to leave, he feels less human, then calls her Wheel Walker. Dawes arrives, and Darlington tells Alex to find the gauntlet because he can't exist between two worlds for long, but he claims he doesn't know where it is. Later, Alex tells Dawes everything, and they go over his words to look for clues, since demons love puzzles. Alex mentions an Egyptian proverb he quoted that's inscribed on Sterling Library, and they realize the clue about the gauntlet being hidden on hallowed ground refers to the library because it looks like a church. John Sterling funded the building of the library and was in Skull and Bones, and when the architect died, James Gamble Rogers of Scroll and Key finished it. Punter is another name for a gambler, so now the clue Johnny and Punter's friends built a gauntlet on hallowed ground finally is all coming together and making sense. The next day, Dawes tells Alex they'll need 4 murderers for the ritual to watch each compass point after the gauntlet is activated. Alex goes back to her dorm and finds Michelle waiting for her. If you don't remember, Michelle was Darlington's Virgil when he was Dante, and she says that Anselm called and asked whether Alex and Dawes had contacted her about getting Darlington back from hell, and she warns that the gauntlet is dangerous. After Michelle leaves, Alex finally tells Mercy the truth about magic, Lethe, and the societies. Mercy says she struggles with anger after her assault and guilt for being glad Blake is dead. Later, Dawes tells Alex that the ritual starts with being buried alive, and she's scared because most people don't come back. Dawes finds a transcript explaining that they have to wake the gauntlet by anointing the first passage with blood. At the library, they find a mural of Alma Mater, the nourishing mother, with 8 figures next to her that seem to point towards the Tree of Knowledge. They follow clues through corridors and archways and use Darlington's words to guide them. Dawes explains that the 4 pilgrims, the soldier, scholar, priest, and prince, will enter together and make a circuit, with the soldier going first and last. She suggests performing it on Halloween, even though it's against the rules, because the veil will be thin, so they have 2 weeks to find 2 more murderers and someone to watch over their bodies during the ritual. Dawes wonders if Lethe built the gauntlet because the societies don't usually share secrets, and she wonders why they would build one if they never planned to use it. Turner calls and says they found another body, and Alex sees it's the Morse College Dean, Professor Beekman, with a broken neck. There's a piece of paper on his desk that completes the Bible verse that Professor Stephen had in her hands, but Alex thinks it's too obvious of a clue, almost like a demon is toying with them. Alex asks Turner if he's ever killed anyone, then brings him to see Darlington to convince him to help with the ritual. Darlington opens his eyes and says there will be a 3rd murder. Darlington's parents show up, and Alex pulls Darlington's grandpa's ghost into herself to glimpse his memories so she can talk to them. She sees Grandpa Arlington begging Danny to inject him with morphine and end his suffering so his parents wouldn't bleed the house dry, and Darlington does. Alex casts him out, then tells Harper and Daniel Arlington that she's watching the house while their son is in Spain and he doesn't want them there. Harper storms away, but Grandpa Arlington takes control of Alex's body and her face and shouts at Daniel until he flees. Mercy is upset about Dean Beekman's death because he was her advisor. Alex then asks her about his family and finds a possible connection between one of his daughters and Professor Stephen, and also learns that some of the other professors were jealous of him. Alex tells Turner that she hasn't found any mention of magic that ages a victim, and again asks him to help get Darlington out of hell. Alex, Turner, and Dawes meet in the basement of Peabody, where they find an amethyst model of New Haven. Dawes reads an incantation that activates it and reveals the location of anyone who's committed homicide. Turner realizes the model was originally created to locate runaway slaves and is angry that they're using it, but he agrees to finish. They see a dot at the Skull and Bones tomb and find Trip Helmuth, who graduated a year ago. He snuck in because he didn't have enough credits to actually graduate, and his wealthy dad won't pay for another semester. Alex offers to keep his trespassing a secret if he helps them, and he agrees when she mentions there might be money involved. Dawes tells Alex that the new praetor, Professor Raymond Walsh Whiteley, wants to meet her, and she can't put him off any longer. Alex immediately sees that he's sexist and pompous and says that women should have never been admitted to Yale, but then she notices an old photo of him and a man on his desk and takes a chance and says that there's a gray next to him to get on his good side. Afterward, Alex replays his words and becomes suspicious that he had something to do with Dean Beekman's death, especially because he became a praetor and had all of this access to magic and information just a week before the murders started. Dawes and Alex talk about the ritual, and Alex asks if they'll turn into demons like Darlington when they go to hell, but Dawes doesn't think so because only their souls will travel there, not their physical bodies. They need someone to watch over them and take Hiram's elixir, and Mercy volunteers after eavesdropping. Mercy looks at the Sterling map and figures out how to complete the circuit because there's a door in the librarian's office that isn't marked on the map. Alex gets a text from Aton with an address in Greenwich for a man who owes him $50,000. When she arrives at the mansion, she meets Linus Ryder, and she figures out he's a vampire right before he attacks and bites her. Alex calls a Grey into herself, and Ryder backs off because her blood tastes like death. She runs out and accidentally leaves the keys to Darlington's Mercedes inside, so she calls Turner to pick her up and then confronts Aton for setting her up. Alex asks Turner about the case, and he says Stephen and Beekman both played a role in ruining Professor Lambton's reputation after he falsified information, but Lambton has an alibi. Beekman was also a member of Berzelius, and Michelle was part of a study led by Professor Stephen while she was in the psych ward after trying to commit suicide. Michelle was in town the night of Beekman's murder, and she told Alex she was taking a train that night, but she wasn't seen at the station until the next morning. Turner finally agrees to help them open the portal to hell, and he suspects Alex killed the men in LA. Alex checks the Eelbastone library for information on vampires and finds that a Lionel Ryder was in Skull and Bones in 1933 and attended a seminar about demons at Lethe. That night, Alex dreams of Darlington as he was, and he confirms that he used the corpse at the Book and Snake ritual to spell out her name. Alex meets with Anselm and doesn't think he's a suspect, but he does mention the Bible verse connected to the victims and says it comes from a sermon John Davenport gave in support of the 3 judges. Charles I was executed in England, and when his son took over as king, he sentenced the judges who voted against his dad to death. 3 escaped to New Haven, and Davenport gave a sermon declaring they'd be safe and hidden at Judge's Cave. Alex then asks Anselm for $20,000 to help her mom move out of LA, and he agrees as long as she promises not to try and bring Darlington back. Alex, Turner, Tripp, Dawes, and Mercy, who I'm nicknaming the Hell Squad for the summary, meet at Eelbastone the night before Halloween. Alex asks Turner to look into Professor Lambton's son, since it was King Charles's son who sought justice for him. They prepare for the ritual and will glamour themselves so they can stay in the library after closing without being seen. The 4 pilgrims will walk the gauntlet and complete the circuit while Mercy sets the metronome and keeps watch in salt armor to deter demons. Alex will start the gauntlet and has to be the one to close the circuit alone. The next day, Mercy and Alex give their other roommate Lauren an excuse for why they need to leave the Halloween party early, and Alex stops by Black Elm to get a vessel to use as a talisman to transport Darlington back, and she tells him they're coming for him. The Hell Squad meets at the library, and Mercy takes Hiram's elixir, and the 4 pilgrims cut their arms while Dawes puts anointing oil on their foreheads. They rub their blood on the 4 columns to open a doorway in the courtyard, and Alex steps inside first. They follow the path and mark the archways with blood until they reach their stations and the basin overflows. Then they grab onto the basin and descend into hell. As Alex falls, things grab at her and they all relive memories of the murders they committed. We see the day Dawes killed Blake, then we see Tripp's cousin Spencer trying to drown him as a child, and we see Spencer fall out of a sailboat as an adult, and Tripp doesn't call for help and lets him drown. Turner remembers killing his corrupt police partner and mentor, Carmichael, after they arrived at a criminal named King Tut's location, and Carmichael killed him when he was unarmed. Turner realized that Carmichael was crooked and was working with Tut for the robberies, then set him up so he could kill him. Carmichael gives Turner a gun to plant on Tut and says he'll bring Turner down with him if he refuses, so Turner shot Carmichael and made it look like Tut shot him. Lastly, we see Helly's memories from the night she died, and her ghost chose to stay until Alex woke up. Alex wakes up in an orchard and finds Turner, Tripp, and Dawes after they've all seen each other's memories. Alex is glowing with blue flame, and they go looking for Darlington, and Alex sees Mercy watching over their bodies through a mirror. They're in an alternate version of New Haven, and 4 huge wolves are stalking them. They find Darlington stacking rocks beyond the gates of Black Elm with a massive demon watching over them. Darlington looks up, says he knew Alex would come, and bursts into blue flames just like her. Through the mirror, they see a man questioning Mercy and realize the metronome stopped. They try to return to the orchard, but the wolves block their path and attack them, so Darlington fights them off and tells them to go. Alex refuses to leave him, but Darlington says she'll find him again. Turner tries quoting scripture to the wolves, but it doesn't work. Alex starts shooting blue fire from her hands, and the flames form into a wheel that lets them escape hell. Alex and the others wake up back in the library, and Anselm is waiting in the courtyard. He sends Trip and Mercy away and scolds the rest of them for performing an unsanctioned ritual, then fires Turner as Centurion. Turner doesn't care, but tells Anselm that this is the first truly good thing Lethe has ever tried to do. Then Anselm bans Dawes and Alex from Lethe. Alex wakes up in her dorm with chills from contact with the blue hellfire. Then she leaves and sees Michelle, who gives a clearly fake excuse for being in the area. Alex confronts her and Michelle gets defensive before leaving. Alex texts Turner and learns that Michelle has never worked at the Butler Library at Columbia and has been lying to her the whole time. Then Alex sees a girl who looks like Helly, and Mercy says she sees her too. Alex follows her and realizes it really is Helly as she was when she was alive, but something feels wrong. Helly keeps talking about Len, and Alex realizes it's actually a demon. She attacks it with salt and runs to Il-Bastone to call Dawes. Dawes, Trip, Mercy, and Turner arrive at Il-Bastone and throw salt at the Helly demon and take cover inside. Outside, they all see the people they've killed as demons, and Dawes realizes they didn't close the door and complete the ritual, so they'll have to go back to hell. They notice the demons are starting to look like them, and Alex tells them about the vampire, and she thinks Ryder was one of the students who used the gauntlet to go to hell in the 1930s, and she thinks he brought a demon back with him, which slowly drained his happiness until it consumed him, and he became a vampire, which is a type of demon. Dawes makes a guardian potion for protection, which creates talismans that absorb into their bodies. There's a snake for Alex, an albatross for Trip, a loris for Dawes, an oak tree for Turner, a winged horse for Mercy, and a 6th talisman, Cosmo the cat, for Darlington. They smell smoke and realize the demons have set Il-Bastone on fire, so Alex sends everyone out the back while she distracts the demons, then activates her talisman, and snakes shoot from her and scare away the demons. The next day, Alex sees Ryder outside her window, which really freaks her out, and she calls Dawes, who calms her down over the phone. Turner calls and says Alex's theory about Lambton's son was right. He was arrested for the 2 murders, but Turner is suspicious of his confession. Alex also runs into Aton and Svi on campus and is rattled that Aton knew where to find her. Aton says he'll stop giving her jobs if she gets rid of Ryder for good, and Alex agrees, but she doesn't totally believe him. Alex is worried after the encounter, which draws the Helly demon towards her. Trip shows up and wards it off with his talisman. Then Alex apologizes for getting him involved, but Trip says he wanted to be one of the good guys, and Alex can tell that Trip is really shaken by the demon of Spencer that he's seen. Alex is called to meet with the praetor, and he acts like nothing is wrong and talks about an upcoming ritual she'll oversee as Virgil. So then Alex immediately calls Dawes and tells her that Anselm hasn't reported their ban from Lethe yet. Alex and Turner meet with Andy Lambton in the psych ward, and he insists he killed Stephen and Beekman, but he says Alex is on fire. Andy says Stephen and Beekman cost his dad everything, but he didn't want to kill them at first. Then he mentions the ram and says he made it so easy for him. Then Alex thinks the ram is Darlington and rushes back to Black Elm. We finally go back to the opening scene of the book with the 2 Greys huddled by their bodies, and we find out that they're Darlington's parents, whose hearts have been torn out, and they say the person who killed them looked like their son but wasn't. Alex pulls both the Greys into herself and leaves the basement, then finds Anselm inside. He says he just met with the board and has a decision about their standing, but is waiting for Dawes. Alex hears banging from upstairs and tries to get Anselm to leave, but he senses something is wrong, and the ceiling caves in and Darlington drops down from above. Anselm shouts at Alex to get Darlington back into the circle, which he shouldn't know about, and calls her stern, which only Darlington calls her. Alex starts remembering more details about Anselm, how he told her the story of the 3 judges, asked about her mom in a way that made her feel sad and ashamed, and how she always left their meetings exhausted. She sends out her talisman and it attacks Anselm, and she realizes he's Darlington's demon. Anselm had been trying to stop them from bringing Darlington back from hell and used the murders as a distraction. Darlington is weak and tells Alex the salt circle is a doorway and she can bring his soul back because she's a wheel walker. Alex enters hell through the circle, but Anselm attacks her and she drops and shatters the box to transport Darlington's soul back. She refuses to leave Darlington again, so she pulls his soul into her body and throws herself back through the circle. Alex pushes Darlington into his body, but Anselm attacks again. Darlington begins glowing with blue fire and tears Anselm in 2, then fully returns to his old self. We see Darlington's point of view and learn that the demon's name was Gorgorot, and it fed on his soul and memories. He has a new understanding of Alex now because he just saw her as a murderer before, but the line between right and wrong is blurred after everything that's happened. Alex brings Darlington to Ile Baston and explains what happened with the demons they brought back, and Darlington all of a sudden develops horns and charges at these demons, and they run away. Trip doesn't show up, so Darlington offers to take his place in the gauntlet, but the others are definitely hesitant. Darlington explains that Gorgorot didn't become a vampire like Ryder because he isn't like other demons. When they opened the portal at Scroll and Key, Gorgorot was able to follow him back, but wasn't trapped inside the circle like Darlington was. When the Hell Beast ate Darlington, his soul split and he became a demon bound to Gorgorot as well as his physical self. Darlington killed Gorgorot's mortal body, but he'll be waiting for all of them in hell. Mercy suggests using Pierre the Weaver to trap the demons and send them back to hell, and the Weaver was originally acquired by manuscript and had been previously used by cult leaders to lure followers. Later, Alex and Darlington talk alone in his room at Ile Baston, and Alex asks about the marks on his wrist and neck. Darlington says she broke every rule by crossing into hell through the circle, and again by stealing him back from the underworld. The marks mean he's now bound in service to her because she's the one who brought him out of hell. Darlington tells Alex they won't all make it out of hell this time because hell will be short a murderer and the door will stay open for demons to come through. The Praetor shows up unannounced at Ile Baston, so Alex and Dawes have to act shocked when Darlington appears. Darlington says he ended up in a pocket realm, and Dante and Oculus asked someone named Perez to perform a retrieval spell for him. Alex calls her mom and says she's coming home for Thanksgiving, then calls Aton and tells him she's no longer working for him because she's working for Ryder now, and both she and her mom are under his protection. The new Hell Squad arrives at Sterling Library and enters the gauntlet again. Mercy pricks her finger on the Weaver's spindle, which releases tiny spiders from an egg sac. They all have to let the spiders bite them, then the spiders weave their silk and draw the demons towards them. The demons rush toward them and they grab onto the edge of the fountain. Alex relives a memory of her and Helly's rabbit being killed by Len's dog because he wanted to see if they'd play. Then they arrive in Hell and find Gorgorot, and he says Hell has rightfully claimed Darlington, but Dawes says Hell can't have any of them. Gorgorot takes Anselm's form again and reveals that the gauntlet was built to bring someone like Alex there. They realize the last people who used it made a deal to escape with money and power, then erased their journey to hide it, and they left it behind as a beacon for a wheel walker. Anselm tells Alex that if she stays in Hell, Darlington and her friends can go free, and her mom will be protected by the armies of Hell. He shows them visions of their possible futures, and Alex looks through a mirror and sees Aton arrive at the courtyard, demanding to know where she is, and Anselm says Mercy will die if Alex doesn't surrender. Alex pretends she'll give herself up, Then Mercy throws anointing oil on Aton and pushes him into the basin. Alex had told Aton she was working for Ryder and had Turner call him about his connection to her to bait him into coming after her so they could sacrifice him to Hell. Once Aton arrives in Hell, Alex pushes the others through the water back into the mortal world, but before she can follow, Anselm grabs her and cuts her, but she pulls his spirit into herself until he lets go, then jumps back into the basin. The library is damaged from the demons, and they clean up the spider webs and dispose of Aton's body with the other bodies back at Black Elm. They see Darlington's Mercedes in the driveway, which was left at Ryder's house. Inside the trunk, they find Michelle's body, and Alex feels like it's her fault, but Darlington figured out she was Ryder's familiar while reading her Lethe Day's diary recently, and Alex isn't necessarily surprised by this because she thinks that the promise of immortality would have swayed Michelle. The house squad goes to Tripp's apartment, and they find Tripp's demon with the husk of his real body in the corner. Turner thinks the demon is dangerous and thinks that they should get rid of it, but Alex says he seems harmless, just like Tripp did, which is strange. He doesn't seem at all like Ryder. Tripp is still able to call his talisman, so she thinks what happened is the talisman protected his soul, even though it couldn't save his physical body, and they think Tripp's demon could be useful in going after Ryder. When they leave, they see a demon on top of the church, and Darlington realizes that Gorgorot bit Alex in Hell and used her blood to prop the door open, and they'll have to shut it for good. So that is where this book ends. Again, the final book, I think it's Deadbeat, comes out September 15th, 2026, and if there are any other books you would like me to summarize in the meantime, please leave me a comment, and thank you for watching.